Hey, what's up, you guys? Coach Joey coming in. It is May 2nd. It's a beautiful Monday morning, and I wanted to come in with a little bit of a message for today while I'm driving into the gym. And I wanted to talk about something pretty common that comes up that people will approach me and ask me about, and it has to do with supplementation. So when you think about supplementation, anything outside of food that is going to either A, help with your body composition goals, B, possibly help with the energy that you have in your workouts, C, could possibly help with recovery and things to help you be able to push a little bit harder throughout the week as your body starts to become sore or whatever the case is. Now remember, supplementation is anything that's going to be outside of food or outside of your normal hydration. So obviously I'm not going to talk about things like water or Gatorade or anything like that. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is top to bottom. Specifically, what are some of your fitness goals? So that's number one thing you have to pay attention to. Number two is everybody's going to be a little bit different. So obviously how your body responds to certain things. And then number three is going to be how much you're willing to spend financially or commit financially to something like supplementation, and actually how important it is to you. So starting at the top, working down, I always think that it is a great idea to find a good supplement of a protein source. Now, this is at a baseline. So obviously I'm not saying that you have to do this to reach your body composition goals or you have to do this to recover from your workout. So if you're somebody who's not interested in supplementing anything as far as your nutrition goes, I'm not a person that's going to tell you that it's 100% necessary. Like I said, some of this stuff you'll have to figure out on your own, or obviously you can always come ask me and I could try to help you out. So the first thing when we talk about supplementation, when it comes to a good protein source, so there's typically a couple of different types of protein. You're going to have a whey protein, and then you're going to have a casein protein, both of which are going to be derived from a dairy product. So I know some of you will have a hard time with that, but pretty much in layman terms, the difference is a whey protein is readily available for energy source, and a casein protein is going to be a little bit longer term. So if you guys are looking at some of those protein bottles in the store and it's like slow release or help grow while you sleep or whatever the case is, usually that's going to be a reference to the casein protein, and then any other one is going to be a whey protein. So that's number one thing you want to look at. And then if you have problems with dairy, they have meat protein sources, they have plant protein sources. So there's obviously different things that you can do to get those sources of protein, but again, that's going to be dependent on the person. Now, I'll say this, with the majority of supplements, it is typically similar to that of everything in life. You're going to get what you pay for. So if you walk into Walmart and you go to their nutrition department and you buy whatever that stuff is in the orange and black label, and it's $15 for 9 pounds of it, it's probably not going to work as well as if you go to a vitamin shop, or if you order something online that is a little bit pricier. But it is confusing sometimes, because like anything else, if you're not well educated in what you have going on, then you can end up buying something that really isn't worth it. So for me, there's a couple of things to look at. One, with whey protein, you're going to see two different variants. You're going to see an isolate protein, and you're going to see a hydrolyzed protein, both of which are really, really good. And the reason why there's different ones is it has to do with how it's broken down. How do they derive the protein, process it into a powder, make it taste good, and then put it into that container for you. So I've been someone who's been a little bit more geared towards hydrolyzed protein over the last 4 or 5 years. It's broken down a little bit finer. So typically it's a little bit better quality protein. I'll say this, it usually is a little bit more expensive. So you end up paying a little bit more. Sorry, my camera's shaking all around. You end up paying a little bit more than you would for isolate protein. Now, isolate I think is just as good. It's kind of like the tested and tried. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I've taken isolate proteins throughout my fitness career, whatever you'd like to call it. Never had any problems. Me personally, and you're going to be a little bit different, one of the things that I look for with protein, does it make me gassy or does it not make me gassy? And it's a little bit weird to talk about, but if I end up getting bloated or really distended on certain proteins, I just stay away from it. It's an indication to me that there's probably some things in there that aren't the best as far as what they choose to use. And obviously if it is and I just doesn't agree with me, then there's no point in me taking it anyway, all right? Typically a good protein, if you start talking about buying, 2 to 3 pounds of protein, are going to range anywhere from about, $30 to $80. But if you think about that in the scheme of how many servings there is and you break it down, you start talking about anywhere from $1 to $3 a serving. So then it's not that bad. Typically people spend more money on, an energy drink or whatever the case is, which will have no value as far as your recovery points in your workout. So that kind of gets protein out of the way. The next big question that I get, and sorry this was a little long-winded this morning, is the pre-workouts. Now, we do CrossFit the majority of the time, or the majority of people who be watching this, and pre-workout is a stimulant. So what it's designed to do is its primary design is to get you stimulated, increase your heart rate, which will in turn increase your blood flow. Now, there are some other things in there that are very, very useful. You'll have some vasodilators, things that'll open you up, things that'll get your blood flowing a little bit better during your workout. You have to be very, very careful with pre-workouts and what you're trying to achieve with it. So there's a couple that I like that I use, but I will typically never use a pre-workout if I'm just going to CrossFit. Typically I'm going to do some sort of lifting or something before I get to my CrossFit workout. I'm a little bit sensitive to the pre-workout. Some people are not, but typically what you're looking for when it comes to a pre-workout is a reasonable amount of caffeine. I know you guys probably won't agree with that, but caffeine is just a stimulant. Arginine is a good one. That's kind of like a vasodilator for your body. When they talk about NO, or like the NO explodes or whatever it is, they're talking about nitric oxide, which helps, again, open you up. But you have to be careful with it getting ready for CrossFit. It doesn't happen that often, but sometimes people will take it and then they won't feel good during their workout, or they'll end up getting sick or whatever the case is. So again, that's something that you'll have to kind of play around with and see how you feel. Beta-alanine is also typically in there. That's what kind of gives you that little bit of an itchy feeling when you take the pre-workout. It's not abnormal, it's just kind of part of it. So you can expect some of that. Follow the directions on the bottle. If you've never taken it before, I would even cut the servings back a little bit the first couple times that you're trying it, just to see how you feel while you're on it. But again, I use pre-workout. I know those of you who are going to ask me what I typically use, and I'll kind of go over that at the end of this video so you guys have a better understanding of kind of where I'm coming from with some of the stuff that I do in the gym. So pre-workout, and then when we start to talk about recovery, there's a couple of things. Branched chain amino acids, BCAAs. It's going to be one of the best bangs for your buck, especially if you're somebody who doesn't eat that frequently, or if you don't eat a lot of protein sources from meat. Amino acids are kind of like the transportation for the protein that you absorb. So in order for things to happen at a molecular level, there has to be things present. So you just can't cram a bunch of protein in and think that it's going to be okay. But there is amino acids in a lot of the food that you eat. So for a lot of people, it's not necessary. But it just, like I said, it kind of depends on the quality, the quantity of the foods that you eat, the timing of the foods that you eat. But amino acids are typically going to be just like in a fruit flavored. You mix it in water, pretty easy to drink. Again, you want to stay away from the really, really inexpensive stuff. Not because I don't think there's any value to it, but like I said, it's like anything else that you would, spend money on. You want something that's going to give you a little bit more bang for your buck. So that's a good one for recovery. Another good one for recovery is L-glutamine. L-glutamine you can typically buy by itself. I recommend this for somebody who typically stays on a lower carbohydrate diet. It helps a little bit with the cramping and the delayed onset muscle soreness that you'll experience. That's pretty common in CrossFit. But I also think that you could combat that by staying hydrated. I also think that you can combat some of that stuff by eating a little bit more carbohydrates. But some people who are worried about water retention and things like that, they're going to get a little bit involved in that as well. Another thing I want to talk about is creatine. Creatine is a pretty popular supplement in the fitness industry. A lot of people use it. I go back and forth. I haven't used creatine in probably 2 years. It does help your body retain water, which in turn will help your body recover. It'll actually help store a little bit of water, in your muscles. So some people like it because it makes them look a little bit bigger. It does help with the recovery process a little bit because it's going to help keep everything hydrated and moving around like it's supposed to. Because of that reason, I don't prefer creatine that much unless I'm really, really heavy into weightlifting, because it kind of makes me look a little bit more bloated. I don't look as lean as I typically would. I know it's just because of the creatine itself, but again, that's me personally. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. So, there's nothing wrong with trying things out and seeing what's going to work for you from that perspective as well. All right. So we've talked about protein, we've talked about creatine, we've talked about pre-workout, we've talked about some other things outside of that for recovery, glutamine. Remember, you're never going to outrun or outwork or out-supplement bad nutrition. So you definitely, before you start spending, $150 a month on supplements, I definitely recommend that you spend the time kind of getting everything in proper form with your nutrition before you start spending money on supplements that may not do anything for you. So that's number one. Number two, some of the things that I take currently, and then some of the things that I've taken in the past. So currently when I get to the gym, I usually do a little bit of strength portion before, so I'll typically take pre-workout. I usually stick between two different ones. I like the Cellucor C4. I'll take that. I've also liked, which I've been taking since the beginning of the year, the Herbalife Nutrition 24 line, the Prepare. The Prepare is a little bit more mild. It doesn't have quite as much caffeine, and it doesn't give you like that skin crawly feeling. It still has the beta-alanine in it, but it doesn't get you to that point where you feel like you have that skin itch stuff going on. So it might be a little bit more conducive to CrossFit. But I like both of those. I still bounce back and forth depending on what I'm going to be doing that day in the gym. For my proteins, there's a couple of different ones that I take. I take a Dymatize ISO 100, which is a hydrolyzed protein. I take that especially when I'm not lifting heavy because it doesn't have any sugar in it and it only has like 1 gram of carbohydrate. It comes in a multiple of flavors. It's pretty good. It's a little bit more pricey, so you end up, you might spend 50 or 60 bucks for 3 pounds of it, but it tends to work really well for me. And like I said, it's lower on the sugar carbohydrate side. And then on heavier days, I like the Herbalife 24 line Rebuild because it has an ample amount of carbohydrates. So I'll usually do that post-workout. I won't do that throughout the day because of the amount of carbohydrates. It does have some natural sugar in it as well. But from a protein source, that's particularly the two that I stick to. In the past, I've taken Progenics. I like Progenics a lot. I just no longer keep it in stock at the gym. So I just, typically, I think there's other things that work just as well as the Progenics. But if you're somebody who takes it, I think that's a good protein source as well. I'm not going to go into the bad stuff that I've taken, but those are the 3 particular ones that I happen to like a lot. I have taken glutamine in the past. I'm not currently taking that. I have taken creatine in the past. I'm currently not taking any of that stuff. What else do I take? Oh, something that I take when I like to lift really, really heavy, and I'm really heavy into a strength cycle, is carbohydrate supplement. This is more for you clean eaters out there. So if you're a little bit more towards paleo and you stay away from a lot of grains and processed carbohydrates, it's really tough to get the amount of carbohydrates that you would need through your nutrition. So I got introduced to this carbohydrate called Vitargo when I used to spend a lot of time in the consultant groups on the Eat to Perform Facebook pages and whatnot. That stuff works really, really well. You have to play around with stuff like that because everybody's body's going to react a little bit different to carbohydrate. But if you're somebody who's lifting heavy all the time and you're trying to put on some good lean muscle mass, definitely got to have those carbohydrates. So that stuff I liked a lot. And I think that's pretty much it. Sorry, again, it got a little bit long-winded, but I wanted to come in with some information for you guys. You guys obviously know if you have any questions about the supplement stuff, you can either A, comment on our Facebook page, you can message me, you could give me a call at the gym, 352-694-3333. If you're a member at the gym, obviously you could grab me and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this or this, what do you think? And I'll do my best. But again, remember, what works for me may not work for you. So sometimes you're gonna have to play around a little bit. We have a great network of people at the gym, so if I haven't taken something, I'll be more than happy to kind of point you in the direction of somebody who has. Always feel free to pick some of our other coaches' brains. I know, AJ and Vilma get involved with supplement stuff on a regular basis. I know Loda plays around with stuff a little bit, but like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to come up and ask any one of us. All right, you guys? So sorry again for the long-winded video. If you make it to the end, I appreciate it. If you have any questions, let us know. All right, Coach Joey out. You guys have a wonderful Monday.